Okay, so this video is over Objective 1, Day 1, the homework, and this is the first few problems, and then I'm breaking this up into 3 videos so that you can watch all 3 of them, and they're a little shorter that way. So this first video only covers problems 1 through 3, which deals with substitution, and these are the 3 problems that we're going to go over. And the 3 answers you should have gotten were B for all 3 of them. So if you missed one of them, just skip forward to that one so you can do that. Okay, the first problem says the table below shows the relationship between x and f of x. Which function represents this relationship? And so I'm only going to do choices A and B since I already know what the right answer is. But if you were actually doing this on tax, you would definitely want to do all 4 answer choices just to be sure that you don't miss make a mistake or something or overlook something. So let's try A first. We have f of x equals 2x. F of x, of course, is the same thing as saying y. It's just written with a different notation. And so the first one that I'm going to use is that 4 for the f of x or the y. And then it's going to be 2 times negative 2. Make sure that you're using parentheses so you don't make any mistakes. So 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And 4 and negative 4 are not the same number. Some of you guys put that this was the answer because you saw that, and you need to remember that 4 is over here on the number line and negative 4 is on the other side. There's actually 8 units separating those two, so they're definitely not the right answer or the same number, and they're not even really close. So A is completely off. So now we're going to try B, which we know is the right answer, and we're going to see why. So I'm going to use again 4 and negative 2, the same 2 points. So 4 equals negative 2 times negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And of course, positive 4 and positive 4 are the same number. Now, if you're doing this on tax, you need to do every single one of these points. But for the sake of saving time on this video, I'm only going to do a couple. So I'm going to do this one right here, and then I'll do those ones just so you see how they all look. So we're going to try the 0, 0. We plug in 0 for the y and 0 for the x. And so negative 2 times 0 is 0. And of course, 0 and 0 are the same number. So that one works. Okay. And the last one I'm going to do for the demonstration is that negative 4 and that 2. And let me actually clear off some space. So we have negative 2x because we're doing B right now. So we have negative 4 equals negative 2 times positive 2. So I'm doing this one and this one. So negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4. And on the left side we still have that negative 4. Since these two numbers are the same, they're both negative 4, then this works. And so the 3 points I tested all worked. B is the correct answer. On the tax test, I would expect you to also do these 2 points. And even if you know that this equation here works with all of the points, I expect you to do C and D just to be sure that you didn't make any weird mistakes or misunderstand the question. So number 2, again, you could figure this out using slope and y-intercept, but I wanted you guys to think about it from the perspective of substitution. And so the way I would suggest that you do it is you find some points on here. So for example, I'm going to use that point. It's right on the line. And the coordinates of it are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's negative 5 for the x. And then counting up is 1, 2, 3. So it's positive 3 for the y. And we'll get one other point just so that I have it in case I need it. I'll do this one. The x is 0, and then the y is negative 2. So just like in the last problem, we're going to plug those points into the equation to see which one works. So A, which we know is wrong, is y is greater than or equal to negative 2x. So my y, the first one I'm going to do is this 3, and the x is going to be the negative 5. So we get a 10 over here, positive 10, and then a 3 on the left-hand side. And obviously 3 is not bigger than 10. Doesn't make any sense, so A is wrong. So now let's try B, which is y greater than or equal to negative x minus 2. So again, I'm going to start with the negative 5, 3. So we have 3 greater than or equal to negative. Put parentheses for your x because there is going to be a second negative. We have this one right there that didn't change, and then the 5 itself is negative, which is where that second negative came from. Then we have minus 2. So we have negative and negative make positive, so that's a 5. And of course, 5 minus 2 is 3. So 3 is not bigger than 3, but it is equal to 3. And there, if you notice, there's that line underneath. So that means it can be bigger than, or it can be equal, and that's okay. All right? So if you were to go on and do the other point, the 0, -2, we're going to see that it also works. Oops. Let me make some space on there. Okay, so we have, again, y bigger than or equal to -x minus 2. So we're testing b again, just to be sure. So we're going to put -2 bigger than or equal to -0 minus 2. Of course, 0 minus 2 is just -2. And it is true that -2 is greater than or equal to -2. Specifically, it's equal to. So b ends up being the right answer. Just to point out how this would work with the shaded region, a lot of you guys notice that it is shaded, and so that's somehow different from equations, which is true. And basically, you can pick any point in this shaded area, and you can plug it in, and it should work in that equation. So it doesn't have to be on the line for this equation to work. However, the line is the smartest place to start, because since these are all greater than or equal to, pretty much all of this shaded area, or most of it, is going to be in all of these answer choices. So if you pick a point that's out in the shaded area, it's probably going to work with all the inequalities, all your answer choices. So that's not an efficient way to do it, but algebraically you can totally do that. Okay, the last problem in this video is number 3. Troy borrowed money from his father so that he could buy a used car, and this table shows the remaining balance, B, which is here, of Troy's loan after each payment. What function can be used to describe this relationship? So this is how many payments he's made, that's P, and that's his balance is B. And we're just going to plug it in. And again, I'm only going to do A and B, but you would do all of them if you were doing this for the real tax test. So A, we have B, which is in this first case is 3910, equals 3910, so I'm just writing the equation down, plus 225, and then P in this case is 1. So clearly 3910 added to anything is going to be more than this initial 3910, so this doesn't make any sense. There's no way that they could be equal, so A is wrong. Okay, let's try B now. So we have the balance, which is 3910 again, equals 4135 minus 225 times 1. So I just substituted in for P. And 4135 minus 225 does give you 3910. So you end up getting the same thing on both sides of the equation, which means that works. For safety's sake, let's try another point. We could do this one right here. So let's see if it works. We have 3010 equals 4135 minus 225, and now I substitute in a 5 for my P. And if you were to actually plug that in the calculator, you would get 3010, which is exactly the answer that we're looking for, and so that ends up working out too. So if you were doing this on the tax, like I said, you need to do every single one of these points and make sure that they all work. I'll show you in the next video a case where most of the points work even though the answer is wrong. So you want to be super sure that you do that. But for this one, the correct answer is B.